Welcome to G Fun Facts Online. Today we are traveling back in time, specifically 12,000 years into the past, to a place where the wind scours the limestone plateaus of the Tek Mountains in southeastern Turkey. For millennia, this wind has howled over barren ridges, burying the past and carrying away the voices of a people who vanished long before the first word of written history was ever scratched into clay. Here, in the shadow of jagged peaks, lies a mystery that has waited 11,000 years to be told, or rather, to be shown. The story of Karahan Tepe is one of profound, deliberate silence. While the world has spent the last few decades looking to the famous Göbekli Tepe as the zero point in time, a solitary sister site lay sleeping just 46 kilometers away. When the earth was finally brushed back from Karahan Tepe, archaeologists did not find a menagerie of roaring lions and scuttling scorpions like they did at its famous neighbor. Instead, Karahan Tepe revealed humanity staring back at itself. But this reflection is strange, haunting, and conspicuously quiet. From the corpse statue with its exposed ribs to the recently unearthed human-faced pillars, the idols of the stone hills share a chilling commonality. They are sealed shut. Some have no mouths at all, while others bear the distinct, terrifying mark of lips stitched together. This episode is dedicated to the silence of the stone hills, a silence that screams of a complex, terrifying, and beautiful psychological evolution that occurred at the very dawn of civilization. To understand this silence, we must first understand the noise that usually surrounds such discoveries. For a long time, the story of us, the story of human history, was simple. We were hunter-gatherers, nomads following herds. Then came farming, and only after we secured food did we build temples and create art. But Göbekli Tepe shattered that idea in the 1990s. Its massive T-shaped pillars proved that hunter-gatherers could build on a monumental scale before farming. However, for years, Göbekli Tepe was seen as a lonely cathedral on a hill. That changed with the Tepler or Stone Hills project. This ambitious undertaking revealed that Göbekli Tepe was not alone. It was the center of a vast constellation of 12 major ritual sites. Among them, Karahan Tepe emerged as something different. If Göbekli Tepe is a grand cathedral filled with wild totem animals, Karahan Tepe feels like a secret society's inner sanctum. It is smaller, hidden, and carved directly into the living bedrock. As Professor Necmi Karul and his team cleared the dust, a shift became clear. The animals were receding, and humans were stepping forward. But these were not the triumphant humans of later empires. These were humans grappling with the concept of the self, the reality of death, and the burden of silence. Let us descend into the heart of the site, into a chamber known as Structure AD. This is a subterranean complex carved roughly into the limestone. To enter it is to descend into the earth, into a space that feels distinctly like a womb or a tomb. Dominating the western wall is a site that has frozen the blood of many observers. It is a human head, carved directly out of the rock, emerging from the wall as if pushing through a veil between worlds. The neck is serpentine and elongated, stretching toward the center of the room. What does this stone watcher see? It looks out over a sunken pool, a ritual pit containing 11 majestic pillars. These are not the abstract T-pillars of Göbekli Tepe. These are explicitly phallic. 11 stone phalluses, erect and varying in height, stand in a rugged procession. When this site was deliberately buried by its creators around 8000 BC, this room was packed with intention. The pillars were not toppled. They were buried standing, preserved in an eternal state of readiness. But the true shock comes from the adjacent chamber, where archaeologists unearthed the ribbed man, also known as the corpse statue. Unlike the stylized, abstract pillars we are used to seeing from this era, this statue is horrifyingly realistic. It stands, or rather sits, at 2.3 meters tall. The artist carved the clavicles, the distinct ridges of the ribcage, and the spine with anatomical precision. This is not a healthy hunter. This is a man emaciated, perhaps dead, his body stripped of fat, his essence laid bare. He sits on a stone bench, hands clasping his phallus, staring into the void. His expression is unreadable, stoic, and silent. He speaks no word. His message is entirely in his bones. As if the ribbed man were not enough, the excavations of late 2025 delivered a shock that rippled through the global archaeological community. For 30 years, we knew the T-pillars represented humans, but they were always faceless. That changed in October 2025. At Karahan Tepe, a T-pillar was found with the face carved directly into the stone. It has deep penetrating eyes and a sharp nose, but the mouth is the center of the mystery. On this pillar, the mouth is a closed face. This discovery bridged the gap between abstract architecture and realistic statuary. It proved that the T-pillars were indeed us, but a version of us that was not meant to speak. This 11,000-year-old face does not smile or grimace. It holds a silence that feels enforced. To truly understand this, we have to look at the neighboring site of Seeberg, another jewel in the Stone Hills. It was here that the most explicit evidence of the ritual of silence was found. Embedded in a stone bench is a human figure. He holds his phallus in his right hand, much like the ribbed man. But his face is the key. The mouth is not just closed, it is depicted as stitched. A distinct line, perhaps representing a chord or a physical modification, seals the lips. This stitched lip motif appears on small figurines and reliefs across the region. It is not an accident of erosion, it is a deliberate choice. Why would a culture emerging from the Ice Age choose to depict itself as silenced? There are three main theories. The first is the silence of the dead. The ribbed man is clearly a corpse or an ancestor. In many cultures, the dead are silenced to prevent them from sharing secrets of the afterlife or to keep their spirits from harming the living. The stitched lips may represent the finality of death. The second theory is the secret of initiation. Karahan Tepe is believed to be a ritual complex. The difficult entry into the phallus room suggests it was a place where knowledge was passed from elders to initiates. The silence could be a Stone Age vow of secrecy, reminding the initiate that sacred knowledge must never be spoken to the uninitiated. The third theory is submission to the divine. In a world where humans were just beginning to assert dominance, the stitched mouth might represent humility. In the presence of the gods or nature, man has no voice. The emphasis on the phallus in the absence of the mouth creates a duality, where the power of creation is celebrated, but the power of speech and ego is restrained. This transition from Göbekli Tepe to Karahan Tepe marks a psychological earthquake. At Göbekli Tepe, art is dominated by animals, spiders, snakes, vultures. Man is small and abstract. At Karahan Tepe, the beasts are tamed. They are still there. A vulture sits on the shoulder of the ribbed man, but the human form takes center stage. This is the birth of anthropocentrism. For the first time, humanity placed itself at the center of the cosmos. But the silence suggests this was a terrifying realization. To look in the mirror and see a godlike potential is also to see one's own mortality. We must not forget that real people walked these hills. They were engineers who carved huge cisterns into the bedrock to catch rainwater in a drying world. They used grinding stones and flint tools. Heaps of gazelle bones suggest that the rituals in the phallus chambers were accompanied by massive communal meals. Imagine the scene on a winter solstice. The sun rises, illuminating the serpent-necked watcher. A chosen few descend into the pit, while hundreds gather above, roasting meat. The air is filled with smoke, but inside the chamber there is only the sound of breathing and the silent stare of the stone idols. As of late 2025, less than 5% of Karahan Tepe has been excavated. New sites like Sefer Tepe are yielding their own variations of silent faces. We are learning that the birth of civilization was a long, intense period of social and psychological experimentation. The stitched lip idols challenge us. In our modern world of constant noise and digital chatter, the silence of Karahan Tepe is deafening. It reminds us that there was a time when the most profound things were those that were left unsaid. Perhaps the idols are not silent because they cannot speak. Perhaps they are silent because they are listening. And after 11,000 years, the question remains, do we have the courage to listen back? Thanks for listening to G Fun Facts Online.